Hello, hope you're doing well, having a great day. So I thought we'd do something a little bit different where we look at AIs. So that's AI plural. So a lot of people use certain toolings. They may use now AI tooling in their IDE to do things, and they may also use CLI tooling to do things. So they may do the more heavy lifting with a CLI. I'm a CLI fan. I've always predicted that the CLI will be the way forward with generative AI and based on heavy usage of pretty much every set of tooling out there. At the moment, I'm probably right. A lot of people like the convenience of some of the IDEs. I think it's like one of those things like when you've gone to 120 hertz refresh rate on a screen, you don't want to go back once you've seen a better pattern of doing things. But, people have their own viewpoints and choice, and the other choices they don't use at all. All those viewpoints, that's all fine. So what I thought I'd show you here is how we could take this a little bit further. So they may use the CLI for doing, like I said, the heavy work. They may use the IDE for interactive stuff so that they can go into the IDE and then the IDE has context of what they've currently got up. And I've built CLIs and IDE extensions years ago that I've shown on LinkedIn before they're really a thing, where I built these already before they started. And I very quickly came to the conclusion that I'm waiting for the CLI. And I think I've been proved right on that in terms of I personally believe it's a lot more powerful pattern. But if you have value in the IDE, that's great. But what we can do, if we're a little bit clever, is we can leverage these to get a little bit more out of AI. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So what we're going to do. So I've used this in a few demonstrations now where I used it as a way of showing MCP technology, allowing different database technologies to be communicated against by AI. And we've used it in some coding demonstrations where we got AI to go and sort of understand how this API works by writing from scratch a set of spec flow automation tests. And from that, it actually wasn't really about writing the tests, it actually ended up understanding how the API worked a lot better. So we're going to be doing something to that today. So that's really what we're going to be doing with this demonstration. So how are we going to do that? So let's have a look at what we've got. So here we've got an IDE, and it'll probably be familiar to you. It looks a little bit like Visual Studio Code. This is actually a product which I was a great fan of when it first came out in terms of IDEs. It's by a company called called WindSurf, and they really introduced the first sort of agent flows inside of IDEs, which are becoming more commonplace now. And I've used all the products. So I'm very well aware of the capabilities of various IDEs. And this is actually, it's quite a nice one. So what we've got here, we've got the C# code open in here. So it may look a bit foreign to you if you're a C# developer, because you're probably more usually used to looking at it in terms of Visual Studio. So we've got it open, and we've also got a terminal running, and we've got Claude Code running. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Claude Code to add a new endpoint. So we're going to add it to add a new deliveries endpoint that supports pagination. And then I'm going to show you some little trickery that we can do with MCP, where we can get these two AIs to talk to each other to be able to allow AI1, which is Claude Code, to have a little bit of pair programming activity with AI2, which is basically the cascade window we've got open in WindSurf here. You'll have seen them in the news quite a lot recently, and there was at one point there was going to be a big takeover by OpenAI that ended up falling through. Some of the stuff went to Google DeepMind, I believe, and also they ended up being taken over by Cognition. And I think everyone involved in that particular project has done very well. So there was no losers out of that. So Cognition are the people behind Devin. If you've not heard of Devin, it's one of the first sort of AIs that was focused on autonomous development, still out there, and I assume they'll be sort of doing something with the products to join them together. So it wouldn't make sense for them not to if they've bought the product. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that today. So first of all, let's get Claude Code to do some work. So we'll give it a task, and what you create a new get deliveries endpoint, supports pagination, and a maximum of items returned as 30, but the user can choose to override and make sure tests are updated and update the relevant MD files. So we'll set Claude off on this task, and Cascade can just sit there for the moment, and we'll get to you in a minute. Please hold the line, caller. Your call is important to us. So actually, let me actually do something before we do that. I'm going to put it in plan mode. I should have done that. It was updating it to do, but I wanted to go and do the plan and then me approve the plan. My bad. Hashtag fail. So we'll let it go away and create the plan. And as part of that, first of all, it's analysing what's there. It's pretty much done the same thing. So it would have made a plan anyway. But just to be sure, I wanted to make sure it was in plan mode. So it's going away now, analysing what's already there, and then it's going to start making changes. It's going away making changes to some of the CQRS endpoints there. So it's using a query handler to do the retrieval. We're using Mediator in terms of this particular application. It's going away make some changes to the repositories. So we'll let it do its stuff. Now it's checking the existing tests because we've asked it to write tests. Let's get through this fairly quickly. We asked it to update the various MD files, one of which is the standard README MD, and also Claude has its own summary generally. When you do an init, it will create its own little, almost like mini frozen context, which means we can go in and out of things, and things like the key technology decisions, it will retain in this one file that's basically injected into the context, so it doesn't have to go away and grep the whole file system. So Claude Code heavily uses grepping, but this is a way I can do it without doing that. So it's come up with a plan now. Pagination to the query, added a new paginated result class. It's updating the query handler, it's updating the repository, it's updating the controller, it's updating the tests, it's updating the documentation. So off you go, fella, off you go. So that will take a little while, I'll assume. So we'll let it do its stuff. And then when it's done its stuff, we'll think, oh, well, what can we do with the cascade just sitting there? It's not doing anything. It's getting a bit bored. It's singing show tunes. So we'll go away and have a think about what we can do with getting these two to talk to each other. That's not generally the mode of operandi that people operate in when they're using these toolings. They don't generally get them to operate in that sort of mode. But if you see my demonstrations, I like to push things a lot further. And you'll see that we have to do, so we've basically got an MCP code review feature that we've added as an MCP server tool, which basically allows any AIs to talk to each other with a bit of telling them to talk to each other. We can take this a little bit further. I've done a demonstration previously on a feature called hooks, which is in Claude Code, and we can do a lot more sophisticated things with this fully autonomously in flight as we're doing things, using hook features. So we can actually run an AI behind the scenes that uses an orchestrator. If you have your own orchestrator, I've got my own orchestrator, you can go away and actually consume AI tooling via APIs to do things in real time as the hooks are generated. And I'm sure we'll do something very interesting with that as we're going along. I've got some very, very, very interesting stuff that I'm going to be doing with hooks to show you how we can take autonomy to a whole new level with generative AI. I like to take things to the max. It's kind of my modus operandi, because I'm not looking forward what I'm doing today. I'm looking what we're going to be doing in a year's time. How do I need to? And I'll be doing that for 2 years. And you'll see, and if you look back at my LinkedIn, I've been well ahead of the game on where generative AI is going, well ahead of the game of generating the capabilities to do it, because I have the experience and the knowledge to be able to do that. And that was more about understanding how to leverage this tooling as it becomes more proficient. And it's becoming more proficient now with the rise of IDEs. Initially was never really a big user of IDEs, not a great fan. And now the CLI. I am a big fan of the CLI because I've been waiting a long time for the CLI. So I've been ready for the CLI. But it doesn't mean that I can't necessarily leverage this tooling together. No, this really just gives me a nice little demo of how we can get these two disparate toolings to talk to each other. They're not really designed to talk to each other. Over time, we may see an equivalent of MCP, where we have the equivalent of a communication bus between different AI tools that can do things. That's kind of what we're using MCP for this particular demonstration. It's not available today. With hooks, we'll take it to a little bit more of a seamless level, where we'll do that by actually having that happening in real time. And you require a bit more knowledge to do that, a bit more grunt to do that. But if you've got an orchestrator, not much more grunt. So I'm sure at some point we'll do a demonstration of that as well. So it's now at the point of updating tests. So let's see if it finds any issues with that, because it'll have to react to that. It'll have to fix it. And you see it's creating some tests, and hopefully we'll be not far away from the end of being able to do the purpose of this demonstration, which is get these two different AI technologies talking to each other. That will be nice. Now, I chose the Cascade particularly over, for example, I've got Copilot as well. I've got all the tools. What Cascade does particularly well is it's very happy to work with pending Git changes, whereas Copilot tends to want you to use their agents and use a PR for that. You might want to do something before you get to a PR, right? You might not want to get into a PR to get a set of eyes on what you're doing. So this is a way of doing that before you get there, and it's not quite seamless for using something like Copilot. I must admit, since I've gone back to using IDEs, I just question how I ever used them at all, to be honest. Now I've got the capability of the CLI, I've got the extensibility of MCP, I've got the capabilities to orchestrate seamlessly in the background with hooks. Once I've got all these capabilities available and things like tasks to be able to do things in parallel, which pretty much everything supports now. They tend to refer to as agents, depending on who the vendor is. Some of them refer to them as tasks, but that orchestrated in tandem with the CLI, in tandem with all the extra features that you've got with things like hooks and things like MCP, they're really great. So we've got an MCP tooling that basically allows different AIs to talk to each other. So because it's MCP and WindSurf supports MCP, I've already installed it in WindSurf. So it's sitting there waiting to go. It's just waiting for this to finish doing some stuff. So we're letting it do its tests, and then we'll try and do something. So it's now doing some repository tests for pagination. It's then going to run the tests. It may react to some things that are necessary for those tests to work, and then it's going to update the various MD files that the Claude.md is key to leveraging Claude Code. I cannot emphasize how important it is in Claude Code. I also cannot emphasize how important it is for you to manage your context. Claude Code does have a feature called auto compaction, but as soon as you start doing that, you're down to the AI making decisions about things. So the key thing with using, for example, any tooling really, is to clear down the context once you've done a task or a set of subtasks related to a task, so that you keep the AI from being distracted, because AI is very much like a very stimulated sort of school kid in the science class, and wants to throw things around the room. So you've got to try and stop it from throwing things around the room. You've got to kind of encourage it how to do things. And as we built this project, we update the Claude MD to make sure that we've told it how we want things to be done, so that we can assess that it's doing things in the way we want them to be done. So again, there's whole sets of things that you can do with rules and things and workflows in terms of Claude Code. Some very interesting things people are doing with that. So it's something we just need to bear in mind. So it's going away doing some tests at the moment. It's updating this test summary report, which we created for a previous demonstration. So we'll let it update that. Don't really want anything to do with that for this demonstration, but you carry on. Now, again, also we can interrupt, and I've shown this on previous demonstrations. If it deviates from intent, we can interrupt and we can interject, and it will replan its plan as it's going along. So it's not locked into a plan once it's started. It's very much a bit like you can do things now with OpenAI when using the chat conversation. You can interrupt the conversation before the sort of AI side is finished saying what it's saying. So you can do a similar thing with these kind of CLIs now. So it's just going away, doing some stuff on the various MD files. So we'll let it do that. It's doing some test coverage analysis by the look of it. And then we'll see if we can get these two to talk. So it's updating basically parts of the test documentation about what's covered by the various tests. So now I'm going to run the test. So let's see what it finds. I'd be very surprised if it didn't find something, but we'll see. It's now running the test. So we'll see what that shows, and we'll see what it needs to do to react to it. And then we'll go away and try and have a bit of a conversation between these two, sitting there patiently, waiting to do something. So it's seen an issue related to entity framework. So it thinks it's recognized what the issue is. So we'll let it go away and attempt to fix the issue, and then it'll run the tests again. So obviously the big power up with generative AI, and here you can see it can use the command line to run tests. We've shown it in other demonstrations. If you give it capabilities via MCP, you can get it going away talking to the API. Now, I've shown you that demonstration before. I'm not going to show you today, but it could go away, and then actually after it's done all this, it could actually fire up the API, and it could exercise the API as a user. It can go away and look in the database. It can go away and look at the proxy server. There's a whole raft of things that it could do. It's not really the purpose of this demonstration, so I won't pollute it with anything above and beyond what is a fairly invasive change. So we'll let it do what it's doing, and then we'll go away and check that things are running in terms of tests, and then we'll go away and see if we can get these two AIs to talk. It's now trying to run the tests again, and we'll see what happens. It's now assessing the test results by the look of it. So all tests are now passing. Now let me update the to-do list, which is its own to-do list, which is basically will probably be the task to run the test. Yes, so it's done that. So let's wait for it to finish. And then maybe what we'll do is we'll fire it up and we'll just have a look if it works. Boom, it's finished. So let's fire it up. Let's exercise it. Now, again, we've got tooling that would allow us to get it to access it. Probably not going to do that today, just so that we're not doing too many things. But let's just have a look. Okay, so it's changed the get all deliveries endpoint to support pagination now. The existing endpoints are still there. Let's just see if it works. Page number 1, page size 5. So that's for page number 1. So that should be orders 1 onwards. And we've got 5 results, and in there it's also told us the total number of results, the page number, the page size, the total number of pages. So this has been fully created by the AI on its own, and it's added this feature, and it's made it work, and it's written the tests, and it's supported the sort of code structure, the code syntax that we want it to use, which is DDD style, and it's used the technologies for doing that we want it to use. So NUnit in this particular example, fluent assertions in this particular example. So we can get rid of that now. So now we want it to be reviewed, don't we? So let's see if we can do that. So let's ask it to use MCP to create a new pending code review. So let's see what it does with that. So it's gone away, it's found it's got a tool. So it's now building the payload that tool specified it requires. It's probably building that now. And give it a moment because it's basically analyzing everything it's done. So it's now submitted that internal code review. So this is basically, you can think of it like a bus between the AIs, that they've got this capability via a common area to be able to communicate. So if I paste this in here now. Okay. So this has got MCP tooling installed for the code review tool. So it's going to go away and fire it up. So what the code review tool does at this point is it gives it a description of what it's done. So it's telling it what it's done. It's not telling it anything about what it's done. And WindSurf in this case will then use the and it's just doing a bit summary of what's happened. Okay, so it's gone away and done something I didn't expect it to do. So it wasn't meant to go away and assess the previous. When I set this up, I did a quick test to check it worked. It's actually seen that's there and it's gone away and pulled that back. It knows that's not related to the task. So we'll tell it to basically create a new completed code review. So that'll basically then just send it across so that we can get Claude Code to sort of analyze what the other AI has said about the changes it's made without doing a PR. If we were doing a PR, we could get obviously get our Copilot agents to be able to do that, for example, if you want to do that PR stage, but we're just using this to allow the two AIs to talk together. So it says it's submitted a complete code review. So let's see now if Claude Code can go away and use the tooling and see what it thinks about anything that's been said by WindSurf's AI. So it's now retrieving that. and see if it picks up on anything. From what it's done, I suspect it's going to be relatively happy. So it's made some suggestions about potentially doing caching, something to do with indexing, capability to add sorting, which wasn't part of the requirements, but it could have done that. And apart from that, some XML documentation, excellent test coverage, efficient database querying, reusable generic paginated result type, clean architecture and separation of concerns, good security with page limits, backward compatibility maintained. So there you go. That's really all I wanted to do for this demonstration today, give you a little bit of an idea. Now I can do this much slicker using hooks, and I'm going to do a lot of things with hooks. But you can see already we've done something which no one else can do. We've got the two AIs to be able to talk to each other. You see people using AI 1 and AI 2, but they'll use the IDE for doing little noddy boilerplate stuff, and they might use Claude Code for doing some heavy lifting. You don't really see people combining the two. So that was really what I wanted to show you today. So that worked quite well. Nothing blew up. No one died. We all lived to die another day. So as far as I'm concerned, that's all gone good. So that's all we really got for you today. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Look after yourself. Take care. And bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.